All right, guys, we're going to go over the basics of Elliott Wave and targets. We're also going to use the RSI to help with wave counts. Let's see, I've got it on down here. All right, I'm going to make it kind of quick. So I've got a couple of structures laid out here. We're going to start with this one right here. So a lot of times, and like how you figure out if something is a 1 or 2, and during like when it's live and when price is unfolding, it's kind of hard to know if wave 3 is extended like this or not. But the way that you know that you're in a wave 1 is you, like I said before, you take the fib tool and you'd want to you got a short term higher high, which it broke the high of that candle right here, and you got a higher low. And what you normally do, you pull up your fib and you look for it to bounce in the 382 to 618 in the 50% level. And when you find support in that area, that's when you know, when you get a green candle like this, that's when you know you're coming out of a 2. And 3 is always the strongest move. So I wanted to show you, like, once you find a pattern like this, we'll go over a few of them too. So when you go and see this, you take your trend-based fib extension tool and you go to the top of wave 1 and then the bottom of wave 2. Now this gives you a rough estimate and a target. And normally, like, wave 5 can extend to the 2 fib level or the 2.618. But ultimately, I think it's best to take profits in the 1.618 number. And still you capture a pretty big move that way. We'll measure it right here. And if you're doing a swing, a short-term swing, or like when I do swings, I buy options 3 months out to 6 months out. So if you would have sold up here, it's a 13, almost a 14% move. That's a big move, especially if you're holding options or even shares at that point. Okay, so that would be your main target anytime, is that 1.618 number. That's your exiting target on a short-term swing. Now with this, we didn't have really any divergence right here. And I really don't recommend shorting stocks. I'm not big on the short side. I like playing the long side because you've got news events and everything else, and earnings and things like that. So let's go to the next wave structure here. This is back in 2022. We had a similar setup here. And I believe, here, we'll go to this next one. It's a little bit bigger of a move. Let's go to this one right here. Okay, so we had a smaller 1, 2. And if you bring the fib tool here, the fib retracement tool, go to the top and go to the top of 1 to the bottom of 1 there. And you can find that it finds support right there in the golden zone. That's why I got those color coordinated there. And then right when you see a green candle like this on the daily, a daily close, that's when the next day you start entering. Let's see where this one landed. And then, like I said, the 1.68 is a good target. We'll go to the top of that, pull this down. And you see here we had an extension all the way up. But now this is when you would use your moving averages too. Because say if you don't want to lose out on this trend right here, your signal to get out on the trade would be like an overbought area right here. or when you see divergence. No, mainly like not right when you see it, because it can stay overbought for a long term. But when you see that it break down like this, that's when you would exit your long trade. And you would have missed out on all this move right here, but that's not a big deal whenever, that's a 40, 50 point move right there. So same thing over here. We had a similar to what it looks like on the weekly right now. So this is a really stacked 1-2. So you know that this is going to be a big move. When you've got a move like that, then you know that it's a really explosive move and that you're going to hit all targets on the fib tool. And you see right here, we respected this area right here. And that would have been your target area. So when you see a big move like this, and then you come down, that is a signal to get in the market. That's an explosive move. You have that high move up. That's when you know that you're going to hit your targets on the fib tool. And then you see with this, we were overbought and stayed overbought all the way up through that trend. So when you got a strong trending market like this, you know that your 3 is right in this area and the pullback. So that's your 4. So in the 3-4 range, which would be right here, because this is an extended 5 right here, or ending diagonal. But anytime you find the 3 and the 4, you can take a trend line tool and draw to the bottom of that, and then the top of 3, and bring it all the way out. And usually you can play just in between right here, or you can stay long until you break out of the trend line. But a lot of stocks are like that. Once you find the wave 3, you can run a diagonal, you can run a trend line all the way up, and your exit would be when you break down out of the trend line. Same thing here. You got a 1-2, extended 3, a 4, and a 5. So like I said, it's hard to know when that 3 will extend. So you still, when you find out you got a 1-2 set up, you draw your fib, your first 3 targets, 1.618, which we went down. Your second target is 2.618. We went down, and then we extended with an ending diagonal. So you know this is your 3 because it lines up with 1.618. So you would take you know that you can draw a trend line from there. Same thing at the top. And you wouldn't get out of this until it broke down. And that's now one way that I knew that we were headed for a correction a while back before we started going down is when you find out, when you see corrections like this in 3 waves, like an A and a B and a C, you know you're in a bull trend and you're in a big impulse. I'll show y'all the image of what I'm talking about. So same thing here. We had A always breaks the low. So to classify an A always breaks a low like this one did. You see we kicked down. That would be your A. The A wouldn't be here. A actually breaks structure. So that's one of the rules. So you know this is a B and a C. And when you see that you're finding support there and you're in a bullish market, you know that the next move is going to be another 5-wave impulse. And that's what happened. We didn't, and this gives you a warning shot right here when you see a 5-wave correction. You see we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. And when you have 5 waves going down, that's when you know the trend's losing steam, and that